Today makes 10 years since my mom died. 10 whole years, a whole decade, which is crazy because I remember when it first happened, I did not think that, yes, baby, I did not think that I would get through the night. I did not think that I would get through that weekend. Year one felt just unbearable. Year two felt unbelievable. Year three felt um, just a little less painful. And there's absolutely no way I would have gotten through it without Jesus. Now, there was a point where I had so much unforgiveness, so much hatred, so much resentment, so much bitterness towards not just my mother, but both of my parents, um, because she was not the mother that I thought I needed. We didn't have the ideal mother daughter relationship. And so, with that being said, I resented her. I was raised by my grandparents. She struggled with addiction. Um, and, growing up, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. It was like, why did you choose the drugs over your children? I didn't get it until I did get it, until I became a therapist and I learned about all the things, all the ins and outs. And I realized that was her way of continuing on, of choosing to live, really, because the trauma she experienced was so much. It was so heavy, and it was a wound. It was such a deep soul wound that she did not know how to deal with it. She didn't know how to cope with it other than her choice of drug. Um, and so, like, as a child, obviously, children don't understand that. And I didn't understand it as a child. But as I grew up, I still didn't understand it. And I did not understand it until after she died. I still had so much resentment, unforgiveness, bitterness, even when she died. I remember being at the cemetery with my brother and him telling me, just tell her that you love her, just tell her that you forgive her. And I could not open up my mouth and say it. I could not, literally, my mouth was, I couldn't do it. My eyes was full of tears, but I could not open up my mouth. And I had to walk through a process of healing with the Lord, like the Lord showing me, uncovering and just peeling back the layers of um, childhood trauma, of hurt, of pain, of just the layers of broken promises, just things that were coming up. God had to reveal to me all the unforgiveness that I was hoarding on the inside of my soul. It became a soul wound. And soul wounds are open doors for the enemy to run rampant in your life. And so I had to walk through this process of healing. And it absolutely did not happen overnight. I'll tell you that. It did not happen overnight. It did not happen in year one. It did not happen in year two, year three, year four. Like, it was a process for me. Sometimes forgiveness is instant, depending on how deep the soul wound. But for me, with how deep that soul wound was with my mom, it was a process that I had to walk through. I could say I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, but I still had to do the work internally and walk through that internally I was in therapy for years. I was in therapy for years, working that out. And even as a therapist, I remained in therapy. And so I can't, it's so crazy that today, 10 years ago, like this happened, she died. And I, like, my whole world was just shattered, and I was angry at God. I was so angry at God, and I did not know that I could be angry at God. So I tried to hide it. I tried to play church and continue to go on to church every Sunday. And I remember one Sunday, my pastor called, she did an altar call. My pastor at the time did, because I don't attend that church anymore, but she did an altar call. And I remember um, her saying that I was angry at God. And I was like, no, no, I'm not. No, because I didn't think that. I thought I was going to be in trouble. I thought it was a sin. I thought, no, I can't be angry. No, I can't have these feelings towards God. And so I tried to hide it. No, I'm not angry. She said, you are. No, I'm not angry at God. No, I'm not. And truthfully, I was. Honestly, I was absolutely so angry with God, because I had prayed beforehand and I said, Lord, whatever it is that you need to do. Yes, baby. That's gonna get you blueberries. Whatever it is that you need to do, Lord, to heal her, do it. I'll change whatever I need to change about myself. I'll stop doing this. I'll stop doing that. Just heal her, please. And she still died. And so I was angry at God, like, did you not hear me? Um, but I try to hide it. And when we try to hide our feelings, when we don't bring our feelings to God, what does that do? It becomes a blockage. It becomes a barrier. It becomes a barrier, a wall in between you and God, keeping you from entering into intimacy with Him, keeping you from really receiving Him, receiving His love. So when you try to keep your feelings, thinking, oh, my feelings are too big for God, you know, your feelings are not bigger than God. He created you and everything about you. He knows every feeling that you feel. He created them. He created them. Jesus knows every feeling that you feel. In fact, He felt every feeling. He felt grief. He wept. Jesus wept. He boo-hoo. He wept over Lazarus, knowing that He was going to raise him from the dead. He still wept. He saw Lazarus' sisters weeping over their brother, and he wept. He was deeply saddened, even though he knew the outcome, even though he knew that this was not Lazarus' end. And so if Jesus can express Himself in such a human way, express His feelings, why can't you? You think that He won't receive your tears? You think that He won't receive your pain? So I had to walk through this process of forgiveness, and I would not be the mother that I am today had I not forgiven my own mother. What would have happened is I would have projected what I experienced, what I didn't get from my mother. I would have projected it onto my daughter. And she does not deserve that. She does not deserve that, because she ain't have nothing to do with all that. She ain't have nothing to do with all that. So she does not deserve it. And so I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice long before I had children. I had to make a choice that I was going to, it's okay. I was going to heal. I was going to do what I needed to do, because I knew that I was going to have a daughter. I had such a desire to have daughters and cultivate a mother-daughter relationship that I did not have. And so I knew that I was going to need to do the work required to not repeat mistakes, to break generational curses. I knew that I needed to do the work. so that way my daughter does not experience the same thing that I experience. And it does not mean that I'm perfect. No one is. No one is a perfect parent. Only our Father. Only our Father in heaven is a perfect Father. And so there's a point where I knew I was healing, and I knew I was healed when I was able to look at a picture of my mother and feel compassion, feel empathy for her. There was a time in my life where, when I was younger, I would look at a picture of her and roll my eyes and be so angry and so full of hurt and pain because of the unforgiveness that I had. But I remember some years ago, I walked past a picture of my mother, and all I felt was compassion, empathy, and love. And I knew at that point that I was healed, that I had forgiven her, because I was able to see. I was able to see her pain. I was able to see the hurt that she experienced, and the trauma that she experienced, and realize, okay, you were just human. You were just doing the best that you could with what you knew, with the tools that you had. You forgiving someone has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you and the generations that will come after you. My daughter, our children to come, will not have to experience anything that I experienced, or even my husband experienced, because we made a conscious decision to do things the way that the Lord called us to do things. And for me personally, I needed to let go of that. Forgiveness, me forgiving her, it was for me. It was for my daughter. It was for our children to come. Me forgiving my mom, because she was dead. At that point, she was dead. And so even if I chose not to forgive her, it wasn't hurting her. She was already dead. It was for me. It was for me. I needed to let go. I needed to let go and allow the Lord to mend together those broken pieces, to put my soul back in order. I needed to surrender that to Him, or else I would not be the woman that I am today. I could not walk into my position as a daughter of God. I would not have been able to walk into my position as a daughter of God had I not walked through a process of forgiveness, not just forgiveness for my mother, but forgiveness for my father too. And maybe that'll be a separate video. But I'm just reflecting today on this 10-year anniversary of my mother's death. And I'll leave you guys with this. So, moral of the story, choose to heal, choose to forgive, because it's not just about you. It's not just about you. The generations that come after you are depending on it. You cannot walk into anything that God has for you unhealed. You cannot fulfill your calling well. Yes, you can still do the work, right? But how well will you be operating in that? God doesn't just care about your calling. He cares about your condition. He cares about your condition even more than He cares about your calling. He cares about the condition of your heart. And so choose to heal. Choose to forgive. Choose to let it go. And do it today. Do it today. Mwah! God bless you, baby. God bless you, baby. You too. All right.